Patrick Brown is resigning as leader of the Ontario Conservative Party. Allegations of sexual misconduct come months before the provincial election. Our Mark Harkisol is outside Queen's Park with the story. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Marianne. These allegations came to light late last night in a news report that was broadcast at 10 o'clock in the evening. And so Patrick Brown, trying to get ahead of them, which seems to be PR 101 for many people involved in controversies, held a news conference at 9:45 last night. Now, these allegations come from two different women. They are both more than 10 years old. One of them coming from a woman who says she was in high school at the time and says that Brown propositioned her. Another woman who was a teenager at the time working for Brown when he was an MP in Barrie says that he sexually assaulted her, essentially making unwanted moves on her while they sat on a bed together. Again, these are just allegations. They haven't been proven in court. Patrick Brown, in that news conference at 9:45 last night, says that this is just not him. He says that the allegations are categorically untrue.
I know the court of public opinion moves fast. I've instructed my attorneys to ensure that these allegations are addressed where they should be in the court of law. In short, I reject these accusations in the strongest possible terms. It's not my values, it's not how I raised, it's not who I am.
Of course, this coming less than 5 months before a provincial election, it's causing shockwaves throughout Queen's Park. Premier Kathleen Wynne issuing a statement last night saying, "It's a difficult and brave thing to do to come forward in the way these young women have done tonight. My government and I have been clear on the issue of sexual harassment and assault. In fact, our policy and our ad were called It's Never Okay." Meanwhile, NDP leader Andrea Horwath joining the morning show this morning to give her thoughts on Patrick Brown's resignation as leader of the PC party, but staying on as an MPP with the party.
If he was in the NDP caucus, he wouldn't be an MPP either. I can just leave it at that. They're going to have to make their decision, but I would not allow someone to continue if it was in my caucus.
It seems the next step for the Progressive Conservatives at this point is to find a new leader. They've got just under 5 months until the provincial election, so they do have some time to find a new leader and possibly get their things in order in time for that election. We don't know who that might be. There's a lot of speculation online at this point, but nothing confirmed yet by the party. And we don't know exactly the process that they will go through in order to find that new leader. Patrick Brown's announcement of him stepping down as the party leader came at 1:30 in the morning, about 4 hours after he made that announcement denying the allegations against him. Shortly after he held that news conference, by the way, several members of his campaign team resigned, saying that by staying on as party leader at the time for those brief 4 hours, he was going against their advice and they felt that they could no longer work with him. So a lot of things going on here at Queen's Park, a lot of ripples definitely to be felt. It'll be a strange day at Queen's Park, definitely. We will have all the reaction throughout the day as well from Brown's constituency in Barrie here for you on Global News and throughout the morning as well. Back to you, Marianne.
All right, Mark Harkisol live outside of Queen's Park this morning. Thanks. And for more on this, Global News anchor and Queen's Park Bureau Chief Alan Carter joins us now in studio. Alan, thanks for joining us. What a turn of events at Queen's Park. Let's talk first about what happened last night. He denied the allegations at a news conference, but then hours later announced his resignation. Why not do both at the same time?
Well, I mean, I think Patrick Brown gave a masterclass last night in how not to respond to these kind of allegations. You know, when we first watched it, I was struck by the fact that Mr. Brown then allowed himself to be chased through the halls of Queen's Park, down the stairwells and out the front door and into that car. And my first thought was, where in the world is his staff to marshal this sort of thing? That kind of circus did not need to happen. But then within moments, I realized what had happened as we got word of the mass resignation of his senior campaign team. He doesn't have any staff anymore.
Right.
There was no staff there for him to be able to shepherd that. His press secretary has stepped aside. Pretty much everybody in senior leadership roles has now left the office. And of course, within a couple of hours after the caucus came out and said Mr. Brown simply cannot continue to lead and urged him to step aside, he did what everyone realized was inevitable and stepped aside.
So stepped down as the party leader, but not as MPP. Why not as MPP?
Well, I mean, he wants to be able to try and clear his name. He certainly cannot lead a party in this case, not with these kind of questions hanging over him. That's what Andrea Horwath had to say last night, and I think her assessment is correct. You just can't regardless of the truth of the veracity of these allegations, he does have the right, obviously, to defend himself. He can do so as a sitting MPP, but not as a leader.
Okay, let's talk about all of this, though, unfolding months before the election, supposed to happen in June. What does this mean for the PC party?
Well, it is a June election, June 7th, when we go to the party, go to the polls. Obviously, this is turmoil and chaos for the PC party. They are right now reading over their own party constitution, trying to figure out what are the machinations that they have to go forward. What I likely are going to see is a very, very brief, concentrated leadership campaign. The Liberals did it. They had more time than this when Dalton McGuinty stepped aside and Kathleen Wynne came in, but that also was a very, very compact leadership campaign. I'm thinking 6 to 8 weeks, get yourself a new leader, and then you get a bump in the polls because suddenly now there's a ton of attention on that, and then away we go into the election. In some ways, in some very small ways, there is a silver lining here for the Progressive Conservatives.
How do you think that this will all play out then as we get closer to the election?
Well, the way it will play out is that we will have a new leader for the Progressive Conservatives. There's no two ways about it. The question is going to be, do they take that carefully crafted PC platform, the People's Guarantee? Remember that platform, everyone who put it together is no longer working for the Progressive Conservatives. They've all resigned. So does that platform remain? Do all those promises that were put forward under Patrick Brown, do they remain? Or does the party then suddenly have to go back to the grassroots and say, who are we and what do we stand for? And if they have to do that, there is going to be a lot of problems.
All right, Alan Carter, thanks so much for your insight this morning. To be continued for sure.